I told you last week that I found a few people that love being married, and last week Emily Donegan shared, and this week Paul Van Hook is going to come and share with us why he loves his wife, why he loves being married. That's his wife back there if you want to look at her while he's talking.
When he asked me to do that, I didn't realize what kind of shape I was going to be in when I got here either. I know Emily, she had a piece of paper up here, and she's just been married 3 months. And I've been married, Lord, thank you. We've been married 46 years this March. In the 7th grade, she turned around at me and winked at me, and that got me. Yeah, so off and on during school, we dated, made each other jealous, but we finally made it through that, and I think we wound up asking each other to marry us. I don't remember exactly, but I wanted to marry her. She's my Valentine. We were married here in Emmanuel, and we didn't have the sides here, the balconies, and wasn't any buildings in the back. And Brother Don Owens married us 2 weeks after he got here, and we just loved him to death, and he loved us. And I'm ashamed. God gave us three wonderful children. And we've got 9 grandchildren. Wow, I like that word. But all I can think of is what I didn't do. My wife worked and raised those kids. And just to kind of give you an idea of why I feel the way I do, someone asked Little Paul from Little Paul Smokehouse, my oldest son, how's your dad doing? Well, if he ain't dead, he's working. And that's all I thought about. That was number one, instead of her. And one day, she walked away down the road. She'd had so much. She was working in Nashville. She'd get up and she'd fix my breakfast. She'd get up and get ready and get the kids ready and leave by 6 o'clock in the morning. She wouldn't get back till late in the afternoon. I didn't love her like I should. That wasn't first place like it should have been. It's funny that I have to live 46 years being married to really see it like it was. So don't you make that mistake. Don't make that mistake. You start having a date with your wife or your husband once a week. Once every day. It won't hurt. But she is the Valentine of my life, and Valentine's Day hadn't even meant all that much to me because she is my Valentine. I be honest with you, she got me a card. I didn't get her one. It's just been that way so long. But I love you, hon. One thing that you newly marrieds ought to do, one thing that's blessed us, and I remember we were in the back of the auditorium. We made up our mind that we were going to tithe, and we've tried to be faithful to that all these years. God has really blessed us with our family, and I think the closeness of it is because of God and His love for us. I love you, hon.
I love a church that's real. And I never really knew many Christians that were real. There are many, but our paths never crossed. And it was when I started running into real Christians that I started taking their faith serious. And I just pray here at Emmanuel, people know they can be real. And Paul, I am so glad that your wife is motivated by grace in marriage. And I think talk in front of a church should give him a pass for a card this year. If I could put in a little dibs for him. Those other 45 years, I can't tell you what to do with him. Just don't fall over when he gets you one. That's all I can tell you. 1 Peter 3:7, let's go there to this wonderful golden nugget of a verse. Marriage motivated by grace is one of the titles of the series. The other one is sort of a funny but serious title, When Sinners Say I Do. When Sinners Say I Do, I really like the title because it just reminds us that we are sinners and we don't always do what we know we ought to do. And I'm so grateful to hear stories and testimonies of couples that have overlooked things instead of let them grow and be a division. We've talked about how critical submission is. It's the context of 1 Peter 2 and 3, all the way to 3:7. The Holy Spirit makes us submissive and yielded people to the government, to our workers in marriage. And last week we talked about conflict is common, and I want to finish that and talk about how the pillars are connected, the 5 pillars of marriage. And I think there are 5 main things we need to work on and keep growing in. And if we work on them, we will be strong in marriage. Let me read just this verse that has 4 of the pillars. Husbands, likewise. And there's that contextual word, likewise. Dwell with them, your wives, with understanding, giving honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel, and being heirs together of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. The mental pillar is the first one. Live with your wife in an understanding way. NIV, be considerate of her. It's about communication. And it's a critical pillar. We have to talk about everything. Finances, faith, sexual relationship, you name it, it has to be talked about. We have to dialogue. That means, husbands, that you have to talk and then you have to be quiet, and your wife gets a chance to talk. And we got to realize, guys, that when, I hope you're not like me in this area, but when your lips aren't moving, it doesn't mean you're listening. If I catch myself when my wife and I aren't agreeing, and she's talking and I'm listening, but I'm not really listening, I'm formulating my rebuttal. And I'm hearing her and I go, that's a weak point. I got that. That's not real strong. It's crazy. It's not listening. It's not loving. It's not learning. It's not growing. Communication. Let's live in an understanding way. We understand we're created different. We understand we're cursed different. God is trying to say something to us in each of those foundational statements. We understand that conflict is common, but it needs to be managed. And it should diminish over time. It'll never go to zero. The conflict ought to be something that, when done biblically, should bring us closer together as we learn how to resolve our conflict. I called them last week rules of engagement. The Geneva Convention has rules of war, and God's people need to have rules of war within marriage. When you are arguing, should never be combative. Where did we go last week? We asked the question, can love cover the conflict? Because love covers a multitude of sins. And I said to you, some of you are cover-uppers. You'll cover up everything, and you shouldn't. Then there are other people that are confronters. They confront everything, and they shouldn't. But are you the kind of person that can cover things up and overlook things at times and just be gracious? Just let it go. And just give grace to that person. Secondly, we ask, how have we countered the conflict? In Proverbs 15:1, a great nugget, a gentle answer turns away wrath. When somebody comes home and they're mad at you or they're upset and they raise their voice, your job as a believer is to calm them down. Not to stir them. They're already stirred up. And we don't need gasoline on the fire. We need water on the fire. A gentle answer. Don't get defensive.